Okay. Welcome, everybody. Coach Erik Eisenhut here from Pittsburg, Pennsylvania. Proud member of the United Goalkeeping Alliance here with Coach Don Maples. I'll let him introduce himself in a moment. But we are here to tonight talk with parents about the role in an athletic culture. Specifically, there are stats and statistics and facts around what kids want based on a survey by US Youth Soccer that I know Coach Don will speak to. And then hopefully I'll clear up some myths versus facts in regards to what parents want versus what kids want. And there definitely are some differences. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Coach Don to introduce himself, then I'll introduce myself and we'll get going. Coach Don, take it away, sir.
All right. Thanks, Erik. So I want to thank everybody for attending tonight and taking the time out of your busy schedule to come hopefully here's some information that can help you as a parent of a young athlete. So I am in Knoxville, Tennessee, and like Erik said, we met, I guess, in 2021 whenever became a member of the United Goalkeeping Alliance. And so just a few things about me. I'm a United States Soccer Federation goalkeeper, or actually coaching education instructor. I am on the region staff for goalkeeping in the South, along with the director of goalkeeping for the states of Florida and Alabama, and currently the director of goalkeeping for the Chattanooga Football Club. So out of which is about 2 hours from me, so I commute in order to do that position. So.
Thank you, sir. And my name is Coach Erik Eisenhut, proud member of the United Goalkeeping Alliance. I really enjoy the camaraderie, the coaching, the collaboration, as well as the education to the goalkeepers that we all are helpful to work with. I'm also the goalkeeper coach at Robert Morris University here in Pittsburg, Pennsylvania on the women's team. I'm an ODP US Youth Soccer Region East goalkeeper coach, and also the director of goalkeeping for PA West for the ODP program here. So without further ado, here's our agenda for today. We're going to quickly get off on the topic on it's an important role in development for kids, but can it also be the problem in regards to what the parents' role is, and are we doing it correctly? Are parents doing it correctly? One thing we'll get into, we'll probably speak to, is a referee shortage in a lot of youth sports. What's that a result of, and what can we do to help that? Because I was a referee when I was a kid, and to hear that is a job that kids no longer want is unfortunate. We'll speak to what the players want. We do have some statistics on that, and it's definitely a little different than I think what the parents want. And we'll speak to really the parents' role in an athletic culture, and what can we do to support our children? What can we do to support the programs that we're a part of? What can we do to support the coach? And there are they're different in many regards. And then through that, we'll speak to myth versus fact. And that'll kind of go back to what kids want in the statistics versus what we believe parents might want. Yeah. So Coach Don, I'm going to let you take it away from here in regards to the importance of what the parents look for and what everybody looks for here. So take it away, sir.
Okay. So this presentation that you're seeing tonight, it's really a condensed version that I put together for a club in Wyoming when I was the director of coaching there. I was in Casper. And we actually, as the slide says, the number one issue in youth sports right now is parents and how they're involved. Now, we understand within these organizations that parents are important, okay? And they serve many roles. I'm sure some of you may have a team manager on your son or daughter's soccer team. You may have a coach that's a parent, at least at one point in your child's soccer career. They're the super fan, the one that's really proud of their team and cheering from the sidelines, and they can be an administrator within the club. And so we understand that parents are this very integral part of the player's development and the soccer sport community as a whole. But what we're also understanding is that parents are also the number one issue of a problem in youth sports. You can go to the next slide. There, okay. And so this presentation came about as we understand that parents are problems in youth sports and in organizations, but very rarely is it ever really dealt with. And there's a number of reasons. The number one reason is a lot of clubs don't want to confront the issue or try to take it on because there's a money involved. You make parents mad, they leave the club, that's less revenue for the club. And so they acknowledge it, but they don't really do anything about it. So in Casper, we had an incident where a parent was almost arrested at a tournament. This was a U8 game. Again, it was U8. And it was in Gillette, which is about 2 hours from Casper. And it was the situation where his daughter's girls team was in the championship game against a co-ed team. And so there were boys on the other team, and they were a little larger than the girls. And the parent thought that the referee was being, a little biased toward the boys, that the girls were getting pushed around, and not only verbally stated that, but during the game went onto the field. After the game, went into the tent where the tournament director was and some of the referees, and cursed them and physically threatened them. And when he was told to leave for, I guess, about the third time, he did leave. But by this time, the police had been called, and he had exited the area before they got there. And so they didn't pursue it. But within the state, we had to take action. And of course, being the director of coaching, I got the report. And it was just something to look bad on the club, and something we didn't want to happen again. So we collaborated to take on this problem. And actually what we did was, during tryouts, when the kids were trying out, the parents had to attend one of 3 meetings. So tryouts were for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You had to pick one of those evenings to come to this meeting, to hear about parents' role and what we can do to help solve this problem or be a positive impact on this problem. And we actually made it community service in a way, because it's not just soccer, it's every sport. We're running epidemic levels of referee abuse, referees leaving the game. And if we don't have referees in any sport, we don't play games. We're having coaches leave the sport. As you can see, parents are also a problem. Referee abuse, coach confrontation, even paid coaches. In Casper, Wyoming, I had an all volunteer staff. Not one coach was paid. And so we're even having paid coaches across the country leave the sport, not coach, because of dealing with parents. And so the different ways that they upset the balance within their teams, team meddling, they're behind the scenes, undermining the coach, not really buying into the team goals, philosophy, have some kind of personal agenda that has to do really with their child's playing time, talking about other players, the sideline warrior, the coach that's not only coaching their child, which you're paying a coach to do, but they're yelling at the opponent's players. They're confronting the other parents, causing a volatile situation there. And then the ride home. Players are subjected, when they get in the car, to not positive reinforcement or things that are going to help them progress or feel good about the sport, even though they may have had a bad game. They've got physical and mental abuse going on. They're told all the reasons that they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Punishment. I mean, I know parents that make their kids I've seen it, have made their kids run laps after a practice because the parent didn't think they played well or practiced well. So we see this across the country. We have an epidemic in referees leaving, and we have an epidemic proportion of players leaving sport across the country in every sport. The numbers are dropping. You can go on to the next one, Eric. So this is a great video. It ran nationally. I saw it during some of the NFL football games that were going on, talking about, kids, why kids are giving up the sports. Okay. Why are they leaving sport at such a young age? Are you gonna be able to play that, Eric?
Yes, sir. Give me one moment, please.
Okay.
Yep. Keep going though.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions so far about anything that you've witnessed, maybe stories you could share? I want this to be very interactive. When I did the full presentation out in Casper, we had some fathers stand up and cry. They literally were in tears about things that we had brought up that they saw within themselves. And it was really touching. It's supposed to be about an hour and 15-minute presentation. Usually the presentations ran 2 hours because the parents didn't want to leave. They were so inquisitive. So does anybody have any questions?
Let's play this commercial and then go from there. I think this commercial is going to really kind of hit home, to be honest with you. It is for me when I have a kid this exact age in my household.
When I was retired from sports, baseball, basketball, all of them. I feel like it's time. The pressure that it takes to play at my age is just too much. So I'm done with the endless advice from parents to keep my head up, to keep my head down, to keep my head in the game. I know you think you helped. I'm walking away from the coaches that left me on the bench every time the game was on the line. I'll miss my friends and the fun we had when we were young. I said I'd play this game as long as I was having fun. And now, it's time to call it quits. Any questions?
Yeah, one of the things that, like one of the top reasons, and we've put this in a different presentation.
How to get ripped within 30 days without gym and dieting.
Yeah,
this
that-
extremely
only
powerful
on to
high-tech muscle
parents.
stimulator melts belly fat
Oh my
and makes
gosh.
rock-hard abs within a few short weeks without...
Sorry. For all you that want to get ripped and ready to rock and roll on the beach. Sorry about that.
Send me that link, Eric. I need that link. Okay. So
That was terrible. My apologies. But one of the statistics I read when I was doing research for something similar a couple months ago. Oh my gosh, can't talk. Was regarding the car ride home. And that was one of the main reasons why kids just didn't enjoy sports, was because of that ride home from a game with the parents. And to me, that was, it rang true, because I've had instances with that with my father and other parents on the ride home. I could tell you I've had that ride home with my own 2 boys sometimes, unfortunately. But reading that stat really kind of kicked me in the gut a little bit. But anywho, just wanted to share that. And I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. While I'm doing that though, thoughts on that commercial? Is it real? Does it obviously exaggerated potentially? What's your feedback on that?
come on, parents.
Hey, can you hear me? This is Jessica.
Hey, Jessica, how are you?
How are you? Thank you for hosting this tonight. And I think the video is fantastic, and definitely hits home how young that kid was when sports wasn't fun anymore. Yeah, one of the things that I know I've talked to some parents about, and I'm just curious what you think the impact of this is. You know, I don't think I'm too old, but obviously way older than my kid. I've got a kid that's starting high school. And, you know, when I was growing up playing sports, you played 1 day a week, 2 days a week, played on the weekends. You played for a season. It was much more limited. And now, while I appreciate the clubs really investing in these kids, there's the opportunity to play soccer every single day of the year, 365. There's clubs, there's training, there's extra training, there's private lessons, there's extra clubs, there's the ODP, and high school ball, club ball, multiple levels. So I guess one question I've had is, how much does that pressure these kids? The fact that I got to keep doing extra, that you're playing sports 7 days a week, 24/7, versus years ago, it was just so much less.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I was growing up, I'm 53 years old. When I was growing up, there were very definitive seasons. I played everything. Really, when I was that younger, it was baseball, football, basketball, track a little bit. There really wasn't all the options that we had now. We didn't even have a soccer program where I lived for a long period of time. I didn't start playing until I was 12, 13 years old. And when you throw money into the equation, parents spending money and not only the club fees and travel and all of that, I definitely think it feeds into the pressures to perform. I don't know how it couldn't. Parents are wanting to see a result for the time and the money that they're putting into it, not really realizing they don't control that very much. Yes, they offer the opportunity, but it's really, does their kid want that? And if they do, that's a great thing. But I also tell parents to be very cautious, because we still have to let kids be kids. And when I had this U12 girls team, and Jessica, you're from Chattanooga, right? You're correct?
Yeah, that's me. I'm Rachel's mom.
Yeah, Rachel's mom. So when I had this U12 girls team there with the Chattanooga Football Club, when I had my very first meeting with the parents, I said, you're going to have one weekend off a month where your child's just going to get to be a kid. And they looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language because they wanted to play every weekend. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And we'll get into that later about the myth between more and how that is supposed to make them better soccer players. And so I'm glad the clubs provide all these opportunities, but I think the parents have to be that boundary or that voice of reason that says, we're going to take some time off here. We're not going to go to everything because I need my child to also be a child, have a life outside of sport. And we miss that, because I know as a child, when I was growing up, we had those definitive seasons, we had those breaks, and we still got to be kids. Kids today are now getting in bed. This is some research done. This is fact, that kids are average bedtime, go to bed between the ages of 10 and 14 years old or 11:30 at night. Why? Practices, all these different things they're involved in. Schoolwork, they still have homework they have to get done. And so they're traveling from practice to practice. They're out on the field all the time. They have to go, they stop somewhere to eat. Hence the diet isn't good. Then they get home late. Now they got to finish up homework. So they're not getting bed on average till 11:30 at night. Why? And we wonder why kids are exhausted. So I think parents have to be that voice of reason to sort of buffer things here and have that conversation with their coach and say, look, we love the soccer program, but we also want our child to have a little life as well. So does that help?
Yes, I appreciate that, Dawn. And, I think sometimes it's hard for the kids. It's hard for the parents not to want the absolute best for them. But it's like you said, the best for them isn't just soccer. It's the best whole person.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to have a daughter that makes those decisions really well, but you know, some kids just, I mean, like the kid in this video, you could see the pressure on his face, right? So, and I know a lot of parents are like that too. So it's hard. It's hard to know that line between wanting your kid to be the best version of themselves and taking a break. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, how many are going to be professional soccer players, especially females? Because we do have the professional league right now. We didn't have that a few years ago. And so, you know, one of the biggest questions I get from parents and players as they get into high school is, well, what's their chances of playing in college? You know, they want that scholarship and everything. And where should they go? And really, the first thing I tell them is figure out what school you want to go to, in what area you want to go to. Do they have the academic programs that you want? And soccer is the last part of that, because if you did not have soccer, would you still want to be at that school? Because there is that quality of life that you sometimes miss, especially when you go NCAA Division I, because it's very much a life.
Mm-hmm.
And Erik can speak to that. A lot of players that I've coached throughout the years that could have played NCAA Division I chose to go to a lesser division because they wanted the college experience. They wanted to have that life outside of that. So again, starting at a young age, are they getting the quality of life to be a kid, to develop as the whole person? And then that feeds into college as well. And I think that is so huge. It's not just soccer all the time. So,
and to that, that's a good transition, Don, into the what the kids are actually looking for in regards to parent support. So I'm going to just kind of forward up to this one here.
Yeah. So being a coach educator, part of the United States Soccer Federation curriculum is what we call managing the performance environment. And so there's 6 tasks of a coach. I really want to focus on the MPE, managing the performance environment. And so what that is all the elements within the player's environment that we don't control as coaches, parents, their friends, activities outside of the sport that we're coaching. And one of the things that we stress in the course is, what do kids really want? Not only from a soccer experience, but from just their youth athletics. And what you see on the screen here are the top 4 answers given by kids of various ages of what they want from athletics. Number 1, they want fun. They want to enjoy what they're doing. Number 2, they want to feel safe. They don't want to feel like, number 1, you know, somebody's going to abuse them physically, or, you know, we have sexual predators out there, which we background checks and safe sport. I think the Federation does as much as they can to try to find out about any of those people or anything that'd be going on before they ever get close to the children. But they want to feel safe. They want development. They get satisfaction. And part of the fun process is they were put in challenging environments and they learn from them and they get better. And each child, it's not linear. Every child develops in a different way at a different pace. And so the 4th thing they want is respect. They want to feel valued. So, you know, the kid that may not be in the, you know, say you've got 15 kids on the team and this kid may be 14 or 15. When it's time for the game, when it's on the line, is that kid going to be in the game? Is the coach, is his philosophy to win, or is his philosophy to develop? And so they want to feel respected. Like, you know, yeah, coach, I may not be the best on the team, but I still want to play. I still have value. I'm a person. And so those are the top 4 things that kids were looking for. Notice winning is not in there. When they did the survey, winning was in the 30s. That's how far down the list it was as important to kids, winning. When they surveyed parents, winning was in the top 3. That's what parents wanted from their child's athletic experience. Well, here's a fun fact about winning. We don't control that. That is not something that we can just tangibly go out and absolutely control. We can do everything right as an individual player in an individual sport. We can do it as a team. We can do most everything right, and we can still lose the game. I always use the example of a few years ago, the University of Tennessee Lady Vols were ranked in the top 10 in the nation. And they played a little school out of Virginia called Radford. Tennessee had 33 shots on goal. Radford had 3. Radford won the game 1-0. It's not that Tennessee did anything incredibly wrong. They still lost. So we don't control it, but we can impact it. We can impact it through our attitude, through how coachable kids are, through our work rate, through our skill level. We can impact things, but that doesn't necessarily mean we control it. So parents wanting winning to be a part of the experience, they're actually wanting something that their kid does not control. And so it's sort of a false expectation, and something that should not be put at the feet of children or players. So that was an interesting stat that I found quite intriguing whenever as a coach educator, when they presented this information to me. And so before we move on to the next part about the athletic cultures, anybody got any questions about that? Any stories that you want to share?
I'd be curious if people were surprised by not only the 4 things that kids want, but the where winning stood on that compared to where parents thought winning should be.
Hi, this is Laura, Jack's mom. Jack just recently switched clubs in February. He was playing for a club that he had been playing for about 2 years, and his coach dissolved his team because there were a couple of kids that quit. And he went from this particular environment that he was in for several years to a completely new environment. And the environment that he's in now, it very much encapsulates everything that you just said, fun, development, respect. And he had started to lose confidence in himself from his last club that he was in, because the coach was very focused on winning, and he didn't have that feeling of being respected by his coach. And now he does. And the coach is, we're going to win some, we're going to lose some, but I see the progress that you're making, and this is the progress that you're making. And he's really kind of come out of his shell and started to enjoy what he's doing again. And it's been fun watching that all occur from a parent standpoint, and seeing him kind of come back to loving the sport again versus starting with the first club, loving it, and then the joy just kind of slowly going away because that coach was just so focused on winning, and the elite top performers and everybody else just kind of fell by the wayside. And with this new club, it's all, everything you said has all come back into his life, and he's really happy again, and it's been fun to watch. So it's very true. And he's only 13, so
Yeah,
it's a lot for somebody that young to have to kind of find that out firsthand. So
well, we're losing the most players between the ages of 12 and 14 in every sport, 12 to 14. And so your child's 13, and you can see at that age, he's starting to lose his passion for the sport or whatever. That's great, though, that this coach has embraced a different philosophy and it's bringing your son joy. That's great.
Yeah, it's the best change that we could have made. Our hand was forced. We had already been considering leaving the club when the season was over, but our hand was forced and we made that decision sooner than we thought we were going to. And it was the best choice that we could have made. It's been great for him.
A fun fact, number one reason parents choose a club, the reputation of winning championships in the club. And again, we're going back to kids. That's not what the kids want. Kids like to play with their friends. You know, they like that camaraderie. And if you go to a club that has championships, but their friends aren't there, that's not important to the kid. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll even say one of the things that I've enjoyed with my coaching career is that I don't coach a team except for the one I do with college. So when it comes down to winning, I don't care. I'm there to develop goalkeepers and push them back to their teams better than when they came to me. And in doing so, we can have a lot of fun because there's no pressure to win. And I tell the kids, you know, because of this opportunity, you guys can mess up as much as you want, and I'm not going to care. But it gives them comfort in the fact that they can fail. And one of the things I say to them is that's where you're going to develop. When you try something out of your comfort zone and you fail, you can now experience what failure feels like without any repercussion. And now you can correct it and get better every time. You're not going to get it better on one repetition or two repetitions or even one session, but it's going to give them the opportunity to try it over and over again without having someone, you know, kind of barking at them. And kids truly enjoy it and love it. And I love seeing the progress that we make with these kids. And for me, it's one of the best things of coaching is watching kids get better without having any pressure from anybody. So just my 2 cents. I'm going to go to the next one. I'm also going to check the chat function, Coach Don, but
Ruben's wanting to speak
Yeah.
something about the microphone.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
excellent. Just a quick introduction. First of all, I'm loving what I'm hearing so far. It's what, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming in from Tanzania in East Africa.
Welcome.
So
welcome.
yeah, so I do coach. I've coached all ages from 3 to 23. I coach for a club. I actually coach at a school now, but I coach for a club, and I actually left that club because I had this winning versus development debate, should I say, with the director, who's a friend of mine. And what we do is we have private schools, and then we have the local kids. So we combine the two players from, let me say, economically difficult background with a bit of a privileged background, and it's a great formula. But the winning mentality, I'll say, comes from, as you said, parents and also coaches. We have egos, and especially in Tanzania, is win, 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 win from whatever age. And I'm just relating to what you guys are saying in the States, and I think it's quite universal. It's, do we have meetings with parents to tell them that this is what we're doing as coaches? My thing is development. I'm all about development. But people look at you and like, but kids love winning. And yes, when they do win, they do get excited, and you see the excitement. So my point is, yes, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. If you do the right things, whether it's being close to the players, whether doing the development things, that will end up in winning. And having that conversation is really important with the parents, with the players, and the director is a friend. The director of the club is a friend of mine. We started it together, but I had to step out because the winning thing became too much and they didn't get me. And I've coached both boys and girls as well. So I had the girls team under U12s, and even them, I have to be honest, they said the first game we lost quite badly. And one of the girls said, "Oh, my Mr. Waikinda, we want to win. We want to win." And they said, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with a 12-year-old saying we want to win, because they do. they've seen it, they see it on TV, but then it's up to us to have that conversation and say, yes, we will win. The same girl was a bit slight, and we're playing an older team. And she was like, why are you leaving me out? I said, well, this health and safety reasons, I'll get you in. No, but she was really determined, and I love that. So we should not kill that part. We should not say winning is not important, but how do we get to that? I just wanted to just, I'm all about development, but I also want to say that that conversation with the parents and owners of the club, or what the club is like, conversation with the kids, and not only from the research that you shared with us, but first day of coaching, what do you guys want? And I've asked that question once or twice, and I didn't get the answer winning. I got the answer, we want to play. So having that conversation, I know this debate, I've heard this debate, but do we actually talk to the stakeholders, which are the kids? Do we talk to them? Do we ask them? And then do we give that feedback to the parents? And do we now say, okay, this is what they want? And I think a lot of clubs, not just in Tanzania, but universally, we don't ask the kids, apart from this research, but we don't ask the kids face to face. We don't have that conversation. What do you want? What do you want to improve? How do you want to develop? Because I, as a coach, I know what I'm going to coach. I know what they need at this age. But there's certain things that they would want. I want to be a good dribbler. I want to get better at shooting. Okay, this is how we're going to get there. So setting yourselves target and asking for their target. Sorry, I'm just rambling, but this is just an exciting time.
No,
Yeah.
you're not. That was well said. I'm seeing some claps on some of the participants.
Yeah, you definitely, when you said do the right thing, because
You nailed it.
I know in our club, all the coaches are told to have a parent meeting, preseason parent meeting with their team to discuss philosophy and schedule and stuff like that. And so what you said about if we do the right thing, see, soccer development is not a sprint. All right. It's not something that happens in a short period of time. It's a marathon. And what I share with the coaching candidates in my coaching courses that I teach is if we do the right things as coaches at U6, by the time they're U16, we hope they're confident, competent players, right? And so everybody, because you've got this pressure to win, which again is not in your control. Okay, you can impact it, but you can't really control it. Is that because of this pressure to win, we forget that because your team at U10 is ranked #1 in the state, doesn't mean they're going to be #1 at U14. Okay, you may have bigger, faster, stronger athletes at U10, U11, U12. You can get away with it there. But you get to U14 and 15, you better know how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if we haven't done the right things at younger ages to develop that foundation, that love of the game, we're not going to be winning at 14 and 15 and 16. And so it's a process that's completely reversed to what a lot of parents want. And like you said, a lot of clubs go after. And it's like, that's not the goal.
Yeah.
That's not the goal. So I love it. I love it.
Sorry, just to add to that. Sorry. Here, a lot of coaches too, they measure it's an ego thing, their ability by winning. So
Yes.
if you're trying to sell yourself, you say, oh, my team, look at my team, look what I've done. And we should realize it's not about you, it's about the players, it's about the kids.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, you're right. So I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. This is almost foreshadowing our couple slides going ahead as I was peeking ahead with the myths versus reality and stuff like that. So I'm just going to move it forward just a little bit, but at the same time, Coach Don, you continue, my friend.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great lead in to when I talk to parents, we're talking about the sideline warrior, okay, earlier. So when I talk to parents about things that are acceptable, what is the culture that we want to create for our kids? Again, no matter what sport it is, what is the role? I always use the academic model because a lot of people can identify with what they dealt with in school. What do we do in school? Coaches are teachers. Our subject is the sport. In my case, it's soccer. And my classroom is a soccer field. It's just a different location. It's just a different topic. And so what I ask parents a lot of times is, you hear them on the sidelines, they're yelling at their kids, dribble faster, shoot. And would you as a parent sit in the back of your child's schoolroom yelling, write neater, add faster, read clearly. I mean, it wouldn't even be appropriate, but we do it on the sideline. And it's like kids, there's a video in the other presentation, the longer version that's not in this one, that it's about 4 minutes long. And it's about what do kids want? And it's kids of all different ages. I don't know what sport they play. And it's telling from the kid's perspective, this is what I want from my parent. And you hear more than a few times, I wish my mom and dad would shut up. All right. I wish they would not yell at me on the field, because like one kid, she's an equestrian rider, I guess she rides horses competitively. And she said, she talks about her instructor tells her to get in the position. I have no idea what that means. Get in the position. But her mom is yelling at her during her competition to not get in that position, get in the position she wants her to go. So she's telling her contradictory to what her instructor's telling her to do. And she's like, I just wish she'd shut up, because I'm doing what my coach told me to do. And you hear this throughout. It's pretty powerful. That is the one video that when I get through playing it resonates with those parents. And I've literally see parents wiping tears away from their eyes because they're like, I do that.
Don, Neil made some good points in the comments section around how do you separate parents, like the good from the bad, so to speak, and like how do you do that at a club? Because you're always going to come across those parents that are just going to, yeah, whatever, and keep doing their thing, right?
How do you separate, like on the sidelines?
Yeah, and if I'm missing the point, Neil, please jump in, or anyone else, please jump in to clarify. But I believe that's what and I kind of hear that, I understand that.
What we told the parents, what was in the longer presentation, was the parents have to police the sidelines, because it's not their actions are not only ruining their child's environment, they're probably not making the environment on the sideline for the other parents very good either. I mean, how many parents sit on the sideline and hear this obnoxious parent over here yelling and screaming and all this and wish they just leave? Me, I'm one of them. I'm a parent too. My kids are now older, but I've got grandkids. And I'll tell you a story. It happened this past Sunday. This was 3 days ago.
I know this story. Keep it PG-13, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
My grandson, my 7-year-old grandson plays American football. He's in his very first year of playing. He's 7 years old, tackle football. So they're at a football tournament. Never heard of an American football tournament before. They usually have one game on a Saturday or whatever, and they go home. This is a tournament. So my son's team is playing this team called the Raiders. And I'm up in the sidelines and up in the bleachers and everything. And I hear this lady yelling at 7-year-old boys. You all are chicken shit.
Hey.
F you.
Hey.
And I'm like, wait, what did I just hear? What I think I heard? And she didn't say it one time, she said it multiple times. And not only was it just her, other parents, moms, came and stood next to her and started to egg it on, to influence it, to increase it. And so as parents, how does that make your team look? How does it make any of the kids, whether it be yours or the kids that she's yelling at, my grandson's team, how does it make them feel at 7 years old? So parents have to police themselves. Instead of going over there and standing with her and supporting her, they should have basically banned her, shunned her from that. Police the sidelines, make it enjoyable for everybody. And I was appalled. I went and found the tournament director. I was like, are you the guy in charge of this? And he's, yes. I said, so who's walking around policing this? Because this is going on right down here. And then finally they got a police officer to come and she got removed. It shouldn't come to that point.
Yeah. John, and one thing I want to clarify too is what brought that on was me asking, how do you separate parents in that regard based on the chat question? What about coaches within the club, some coaches are all about development. Some coaches are, even though the club might say, hey, we're in it for development, they're really looking to pad their ego and W's and really go for that win. How do you deal with that from a club perspective, a parent's perspective? Like, you're signing your kid into this club because you want development, is what they're advertising, but the coach's ego is getting in the way, and it's all about W's.
Well, I think that comes from the leadership of the club.
Yeah, I agree.
The director of coaching has to know what's going on. And often, too many times, directors of coaching are often coaching teams within the club. That's part of their salary, part of their expectations. And as a director of coaching, where I was in Casper, when they went to hire me, they asked me to coach a team. I said, absolutely not. I will not be your director of coaching if I have to coach a team, because I can't do my job. I can't go from practice to watch my coaches, to help mentor and develop them. And I can't be on the sidelines during games if I'm coaching my team to watch what's going on there. So the leadership, the directors of coaching, have to know what's going on with their coaches. They have to see really what is their philosophy. I asked my coaching candidates, and when I was the coach, the director of coaching Wyoming, what is your why? And they looked at me like, what do you mean, what's my why? Why do you coach? Why are you here? Simon Sekanics, what is your why? Know your why. And what is your philosophy? Is it winning? Is it development? I mean, know it, at least be honest about it. And then we can go from there. Okay. Everybody's philosophy is fluid. It should be. Mine, when I started coaching at 15 years old, my philosophy is very different now at 53. And so I think the directors of coaching have to have a very good handle on what's going on with their coaching environment and the people that they have under them that are impacting the environments for these kids.
Yeah. And to add to that, Don, is I would say too, like, as the paying customer, as a parent, go over your coach's head and call the DOC. It's not going to get to the DOC if you talk to the coach about the coach's demand to win over development. You got to go to the director of coaching to be heard. It's just the way it is. You just have to do that. It's not going to be heard otherwise. How does that impact our referee system, Coach Don?
Well, to say that we have a referee shortage in this country in every sport, is an understatement. Right. As tournament director for the tournament within our club, last fall, we ran a tournament that had close to 250 teams in it. And we didn't have enough referees, and it was a huge problem. And the number one reason why referees are leaving the game are the parents, the referee abuse that they are experiencing. There's a site on Facebook called Offside. How many know about that? I see one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's people share videos of parents in nearly every sport where parents, coaches are going after the referees, and the stuff, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. These people are, you're always going to have good and bad referees. They're going to make mistakes. I mean, and a lot of them are still learning. I literally, as a field marshal many, many years ago for a tournament that our club was running, I had to stop a 40-year-old man from physically beating a 14-year-old boy. And as soon as the whistle blew, I watched this dad. I knew there was going to be a problem. He started onto the field, and I ran and got between him and the child. He's 14 years old. It was a U10 game. My son played in the game. And the only question I asked him, you want to go home or you want to go to jail? And it got him to pause for a moment. He still had a lot to say, but at least he wasn't, because when I got to him, his hands were coming out to lay hands on this child. So, we're going to lose the ability to play the games, which is what the kids want to do, if we don't get parents under control on the sidelines. And it's appalling. parents going after opposing teams, players, referees, coaches attacking referees. And what are we teaching the kids? We're not teaching them how to deal with adversity, how to overcome, a bad call in a game. I oftentimes tell my parents, I have a zero tolerance for anybody calling out the referee. Zero tolerance. If I'm not saying anything to the referee, you don't need to say anything to the referee. And I don't say anything. I mean, it is what it is. I tell my parents and players, there's more things that we could have done right in the game that would have a more of an impact on the outcome of the game than one referee's call. And in 30 years of doing this, 4 has a referee's call in a game that my teams were playing in influenced the outcome of a game. 4. What are you going to do? They're not going to reverse the call.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're taking the fun out of it. We're giving kids the ability, we're enabling them to make excuses. Well, the referee cheated us. That's why we lost the game. No, could it be that you missed 12 shots on goal? That may have more of an impact than the one call. And so it's a huge problem. It is a absolute epidemic problem. Do you have that video on Coach Martin there?
I'm going to go to myth versus fact, but I'm going to look that up. You keep going. I'm going to bring that up right now.
Okay.
Just
So
keep an eye on time too, by the way.
all right. So while he brings up that video, before we get into myth versus fact, does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to share? Y'all are too quiet. Y'all been on the sidelines
All
too.
right,
I know
just-
y'all got story. Look, I can tell you a story. I'll share a story with you later that you will not believe. Anytime I tell this story, people go, "You're a liar." They would tell me you're a liar. This never happened. But anyway, go ahead.
All right, no, just a quick one on terms of what we can control and can't. In terms of refereeing, as when you're coaching, especially from U15 onwards, what I like to do is I like to make wrong calls while I'm coaching, just to get the reaction from the players. And then this happens in a game, so you get them psychologically ready for bad calls. So that's one thing you can control in terms of your players. I know you're talking about parents, but if you on the sideline as a coach are not talking to the referee, the players are not talking back to the referee, the parents will look very silly or very stupid, talking back. So you're conditioning your players, and it's all about culture. I think when either you've talked about it, you're going to talk about culture of the club or culture of the coaching. Is you tell this is going to happen. So everything that you're saying, you have that conversation with the players and the parents as well. So having those conversations, I believe, is really important. So that's even before you get yeah. I just want to say that.
And so we got in the chat here from Neil. It says, what role do the leagues have in protecting the ref? In a way, the ref is working for them and should be protected. This is, I just thought, you're right. A lot, the leagues or tournament are the ones that are hiring the refs, umps, in that, whatever you want to call them, based on the sport. But a lot of that, the way they could protect them is parent education. So, some leagues have parents sign a contract. They won't do this. Well, that doesn't really hold any water. Protecting referees, education of parents, hold parents accountable, and players and coaches too. It's not just parents, but all of those 3 factors that influence the game, that are part of the game. You could ban them. I know the incident that I spoke of in Wyoming at the U8 girls game, we had a disciplinary meeting with the parent, and I was going to suspend him for the rest of the year from attending any games. And when he got in there in front of me and the executive director, he showed real remorse about what he had done. He was brand new. His daughter had just started playing sports. She's, again, 7 years old. He was a young man, or young father. And so we talked to him, and I literally took the suspension and I ripped it up. I said, this is a teachable moment for you. And I ripped it up with the premise, if you do anything like this again, you're gone for a year, you're out. There will be no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care what your reason is, yada, 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 you're done. You know what he later became?
Coach.
A referee.
Ah.
He went and got his referee license, and he was one of the dads that stood up at the presentation that I did, one of the 3 presentations, crying, and gave shared his story and where he had come in essentially 6 months. And then later on, whenever we got back into the fall season, he was a changed parent. And so leagues could do that. Again, that's all about parent education and things. So
Yeah, Don, that's a perfect segue into this video. This is a good one about referees. Now, this is a Division I college, Big 5, Power 5 conference head coach at a very high level here. And this will bring us right into our myth versus fact, just so you guys know where we are in the presentation, guys.
I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen when my team's playing. I go watch my kids play. I don't say boo. I don't wave my arms. I don't try to coach my kids. With all due respect to most parents out there, I probably know more about basketball than most of them. Okay. But I sit in the stands and I don't say a word. There's 2 guys refereeing a 4th grade game on a Sunday morning. What can they possibly be making? $20 a game? I used to do that. I used to make $12 for 10 and under, 15 for 15 and under, and 17 or 18 bucks for high school age kids. Okay. So on a Sunday morning, instead of being in church, those guys are out there trying to make a couple bucks to pay their bills, feed their families. Do you think they really care what 4th grade team wins? Do you really think that they sat at home and said, I can't wait to officiate that game tomorrow because that one team, I can't wait to get that 10-year-old kid and embarrass them in front of people? Do you really think that's what they're doing? I don't try to tell my kid how they should play. You know what I told my 2 boys when they come ask me, why are you asking me, man? I didn't run your practice. Go talk to your coach. But don't talk about your coach in front of me, man. Because if you are, then you're not playing basketball. You don't understand why you didn't play better? Go talk to your coach. I'm not your coach. I'm your dad. Somebody disrespects you, then I'm here. If you fail, good. Deal with it. I'm going to help you get up. But don't come talk to me about coaching. I do this for a living, man. I'm not going to criticize a guy that's trying to help you. And then the other part. So that's the officials. Do you think those coaches coaching 4th grade kids are making any money? So there's someone that's giving of their personal time on a Sunday for free to help others people's children. Yet we're going to have the adults in the stands yelling obscenities at the officials, criticizing every decision the coach makes, yelling at the kids like the kids, they're 10 years old, man. Like if they were LeBron James and Dwayne Wade playing in the NBA finals, like they know how to handle their coach over here and their parent over here yelling at them. Then we wonder why kids get confused, man, why kids rebel, why kids don't know how to listen. How can you listen when you got so many voices in your head at the same time? You know what life teaches you? Shut things off. And that's the part that's frustrating to me. It's if someone wants to be so animated when there's a basketball game going on, then go coach the team. Go run practices. Show up every day at 6 o'clock at night and run an hour and a half practice. And then you got your team to coach, or be an assistant coach, sit on the bench, yell all you want. I don't care people on the bench yell at my kids. I got 2 boys. If they don't deal with my children, my children won't be on their team. My child acts up or doesn't do things the way that they're expected to do things by them, not me. And they let it happen, I'm taking my son off the team. I want my son to be challenged. Both of my boys. I want them to grow up. I want them to understand what life's about. But that's the part that's sad, man.
Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And Frank Martin is a wonderful coach, and he's in the SEC. There's another video in the longer presentation that's Doc Rivers talking about his kids and how they come to him wanting to complain about the coach. He tells, go talk to your coach. Go talk to your coach. So let's see. What are we going into, Eric? The myth versus fact?
Yes, sir. You can start teeing it up while I continue to look for it. It's in here somewhere. I got it.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
myth versus fact. There's three things that we're going to look at, myth versus fact. Games and development, how that equals winning, development, and parents coaching from the sidelines, development. So, you know, are they real? Does it help? Does it hurt? There's Doc Rivers there.
Yeah, we're skipping over it. Don't go talking about it.
Yeah. And
There we go.
yeah, so games versus development. So in the presentation before, it was, I asked the parents a question. Do you think a greater number of games equals greater development? And the parents sort of look at each other, and most of them agree, yes, playing more games makes my child better. And that would be false. If we put this into an academic perspective, games are the test. Okay, games are the test. Training is the homework, and scrimmages or friendlies, whether it be inter-club or outside the club, those are like pop quizzes. What academic model does competitive games, where they're, you know, tournament games or state league or whatever it may be, what in an academic model, when do kids constantly take tests on almost a daily basis? They don't. What do? They train. They do homework. They have little pop quizzes in class. And so the ratio should be, let me get this up here. What we're looking for is a ratio of really 4 or 5 training sessions to 1 game. And it's age appropriate. It could be 2 to 1 based on age. Okay, 2 to 1 versus to 4 or 5 to 1. Because we want to practice and train all of those elements, those concepts, before we go have a test. When I was out in Wyoming, literally, they had a ratio of about 2 training sessions to 7 games. They were playing tournaments every weekend, practicing 2 times a week, sometimes 3. And so kids were constantly taking this test, and they wonder why in Wyoming, it's not a soccer mecca to begin with, is can't compete with Denver, the Colorado, which is just a state below, or Utah, the state beside of them, which has, in region terms, much more success in developing players. So, and then we had some teams that were in that, like they're 1-to-1. It was equal number, and they're not getting enough practice time. So we had trainings 3 times a week. That was most teams. 1 tournament on average a month, and scrimmage and friendlies were encouraged because they got a chance to go out there in a really non-competitive environment. No medal was on the line, and go out and try different things, players playing in different positions. And so we saw a huge progression in our success rate in players developed for ODP. We had more players from Wyoming chosen for the region team after 1.5 years of implementing this than at any moment prior to me being the DOC there. That's not a pat on the back for me. I'm not saying that, but we implemented the proper training to game ratio. Players started to develop. We also had more teams within the club when more state championships than at any moment of any team out of the Casper Soccer Club in Wyoming. So again, we saw this progression. It goes back to Ruben's part about if you do the right things in development, winning will take care of itself. Okay. All right. So the next one, greater winning equals greater development. You there, Eric? You got that up there?
Yep. You got winning, development, and you got coaching from sidelines greater than development. Those are your 3 myths versus facts there.
Okay. Have you got the slide up there about with Sam Snow, the podcast?
I do not. I think we condensed it to take that one off. My apologies. Yep.
Okay. So a lot of parents think that more winning means their teams are developing. Well, I sort of hinted at this earlier. That would be false, because you can have a team full of athletes and maybe it's a case of some players have hit puberty and they've matured physically quicker than their peers and they're bigger, faster, stronger. Well, they're just out running and pushing people around a little bit, a little more physical, and they're winning a bunch of games. Parents equate that to our team is awesome. And they like to wear the shirt. You know, my daughter's team's #1 in the state of Tennessee. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, at 10 years old, that really matters. And so, no, it does not equal greater development. A great story is many years ago, I was asked to coach this team of U13 girls. And they were all players on the team that were cut from a team within another club. And so they all came to one club. And so they asked me to coach them. That very first year, we played the defending state champions who at 12, they were 12 years old. They won state. At 13, that first year that I had them, U13, they beat us. And we were learning the game. We were working on technical ability, tactical knowledge. We were learning the game. At U14, that same team that had won 2 state championships in a row, we beat them in the semifinals to put them out of the tournament. And we won our very first state championship and went on to win 4 consecutive state championships. So we weren't winning a lot that first year. In fact, our very first game as a team, we lost 13-0. So there wasn't a whole lot of winning going on to say we were developing, but we got better. And then we started to win. It goes back to, if you do the right things, the wins will take care of itself. Okay.
Coach, should there be, based on what you just said, should there be a level of competition in the academy levels then?
Define academy levels as you know it.
Let's go. It was just from the chat. It was 12 and under.
Should there be competitive level?
Yes.
I don't think competitive level is the problem. It's the expectations that parents and coaches put on that competitive level. They think if they're a Division I team, they ought to be, just, oh, we're a top team in our club and everything. We ought to just be killing everybody. That's not always the case. And oftentimes coaches don't choose the appropriate level that their team really is, because the club needs a Navy or a white or a gray team. Well, we don't have a Navy team at U12. You need to be the Navy team. Well, maybe their team's not Navy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going out and playing games that they're not in the right level. The kids get discouraged. The parents are frustrated. So I don't think it's a competition level so much, if I'm understanding the question correctly, is the expectations they have for the team that their kids playing on. Does that make sense?
Yep. You got good feedback on that too. So good answer, Coach.
I don't think competition. I don't think competition's a bad thing. Expectations too high are a bad thing.
Right.
Okay.
By the way, I did have the Sam Snow PowerPoint slide up during that conversation. Yeah.
Okay. So the next, coaching from the sidelines. So everybody thinks, or many parents think that, if I'm coaching, if we're winning, or if we're coaching from the sidelines, that's going to help in my players' development. Well, you just heard Frank Martin talk about, you got the coach's voice, you got the parents' voice in those kids' ears. Who are they going to choose? There's too many voices in their head. And so you're typically paying a coach to train your child. Let them do their job. And oftentimes we see it as, I use this example with my coaching candidates. Oftentimes when a parent is saying, go, go, go from the sideline, the coach is saying, no, no, no. Because it's not just kick the ball down the field and try to outrun everybody and get there. There's some build up, there's possession. And so oftentimes parents are giving the wrong message or the opposite message of really what their coach is expecting. So it doesn't help in development. It can actually stunt their development because you put kids in a place where they have to choose. Are they going to listen to their parent? Are they going to listen to their coach? Well, research tells us that kids more often than not are going to listen to their parent. Why? You're the number one influence in their life. And so they're going to hedge toward you, which now undermines the coach. So it becomes an issue. So it doesn't help in their development. We got anything in the chat, Eric?
No, chat's clean, and that kind of wrapped up the we basically at conclusions now. So we do have something in the chat. Something just
I thought I saw one about ODP.
Here's one question here. Fantastic point about parents. I was coaching a U9 team. They knew the instructions. So I, as a coach, like to be silent on the touchline until halftime. One parent was complaining, why was I not telling the kids what to do and where to go? And that's from Ruben, and that meant I guess during the game. Parents I'm similar to you, Ruben, where I'll depending on the age, I will definitely be speaking to them and not being a joystick coach, if that phrase rings to fruition in regards to micromanaging players on the field. I think the setting of expectations is necessary when it comes to something like that. Or if a parent did have an issue, I think speaking to parents and speaking to them about what my role is as a coach. And in college, it's obviously a lot different because, the expectations are different compared to the U9 that you're discussing in your chat. But that's one of the things I do early is just set expectations with parents. Anyone that's new to my academy, I speak to the parents first, make sure we're on the same page with what the goals are for the small groups and the privates if we run that. But at the same time, I think them having an understanding as to what I expect for them is really helpful in their growth and development of their child.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a question about ODP. That was from Rachel.
Yeah,
Well-
Don, that was from me on ODP, and I've kind of heard two different sides of the story on ODP. On the one hand, it's a neat opportunity for development with other high-level players in a different environment. And on the other hand, it takes away from your team. They have to miss weekends, miss games, miss tournaments. So a lot of coaches don't encourage it because, it's something you're doing on your own and you're missing the team environment. So I was just kind of curious, as far as developing a player, how do you view ODP?
Well, first off, in every ODP state, ODP makes it very clear that if there's a conflict, like if ODP's training on one weekend and there's a tournament for that player on the same weekend, they are to go with their team. They are not to come to ODP because they have to work together. Okay, within conjunction. We're not wanting to hurt the teams. And I'm like I said, I'm the director of goalkeeping for 2 states and on the staff for Tennessee. It's not meant to take away from the team. Oftentimes what we find is coaches, again, it goes back to that philosophy. Let's say that there's an interregional weekend going on with ODP, which means there's teams from various states coming up to a location to play, and your team has a tournament. That is a great opportunity for your child to go be a part of that interregional because they are playing against the better players from other states. It's good competition, good level, good opportunity. Coaches will tell you, no, they need to be with their team. Most coaches, because they sort of focus on they want to win, will not release a player, don't want to release a player to go be part of that opportunity. Now, again, we're not talking about training. If it's a tournament weekend and an ODP training, they should go with their team. But if there's an opportunity for that player to go play on the ODP team in a tournament, like an interregional tournament, those coaches should encourage that. And it gives players on the team, on his team or her team, the opportunity to play another position, for the team to get used to playing with other players in that position. Gives them other opportunities. What happened? Let's just use Rachel as an example. Rachel is the starting goalkeeper for her team. What if she got hurt? And yet her backup had never gotten a chance to really be in a meaningful game and play. Well, how does her team react to that? Because Rachel's always there. If Rachel was to go play in that interregional game, then her backup may be playing, may get to play some time. She gets experience. The team gets experience with her in case something ever does happen with Rachel. And so there's both sides of it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It does, and that's helpful. And I think the way you explained it is good. I think there's some coaches that saw it as you're prioritizing individual development over team development. And I've just heard a couple of different philosophies on that, but I appreciate what you said. I mean, it's getting to play at a higher level, and it gives other people opportunity, and that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if we're not afraid of losing a game occasionally, then we'll let the kid go. I've had to be that bad guy many times, Jessica, where the parent didn't want to make the decision. I stepped in and made the decision. You will go play with ODP. We'll be good without you. We'll be fine.
Well, and honestly, that's the reason Rachel hadn't tried out yet, is because it was discouraged. So
No, I would definitely encourage her to do it. Definitely. Because it is a pathway to the region and the national team. I mean, so it's a good opportunity. Good opportunity.
Ruben,
Any
if you
other
type in, Ruben, if you type in your email address into the chat and or send it directly to me, I'll forward you that, the PowerPoint slides. If anyone wants these slides, guys, I can absolutely forward this to you. If anyone's interested in learning more about the United Goalkeeping Alliance, by all means, reach out to me anytime, whether you're a parent of a goalkeeper, whether you're a goalkeeper coach, or whether you're a coach and just looking to learn more. That's what this is all about. It's about getting everyone to their next level. That includes goalkeeper coaches, parents, and obviously goalkeepers. Last opportunity for questions for Coach Don, please.
Oh, come on. I know we got to have some questions.
I know, right? You're going to start calling on people.
I'll call on somebody. Greg, does any of this resonate with you?
Knew that was coming.
Oh gosh. Actually, it did. The point that you brought up about the interregional and tournaments and things of that nature. Emily had the opportunity to go to an interregional in Georgia, and she missed out on some important a tournament that her team was in, and so they had to use a backup keeper. And I think it was a good experience because the backup keeper, got the opportunity to play and be in that situation. And it came back later in the fall because Emily fractured her toe and was out for 6 weeks. And the practice that it happened at was the Thursday before we were going to travel to Atlanta on Friday. And so there wasn't time to get a backup keeper other than who was the field player on their team. And so that weekend that player, was able to fill the role, but they had the experience from having done that previously, to have helped the team. So I know that's kind of a strange, thing to bring up, but I think that a lot of people, or it's really up to the kid whether they feel comfortable putting themselves in a situation that is not comfortable. And For some players, ODP might be that way because they're having to try out for something that there's competition for, that's a different tryout than they would for their club team. And so there's different reactions and different ways that the kids deal with that. And I think that if they're really interested in playing and they want to make it something that they're going to do for some time, that playing with other players is a good thing, because, you know, at some point they'll be in high school and be on a high school team, and those players won't be the same that are on their club team. And it gives them another life experience of getting to interact with people and different personalities, and you know, be teammates on more than one team. So I think that there's benefits to those opportunities for those that want to take advantage of it.
Yeah. What about Sarah? Do you have any feedback for tonight?
Why you gotta call on me like that? I mean, I have enjoyed listening to, all of it, and trying to, find the way of furthering, my daughter's development, and looking at different club options and trying to figure out what's going to work best for her to continue to have fun, which is important, but continue to develop as well. And, we are a B team player, and there are things that we see amongst our club that it's, why aren't we doing this? And it's hard to tell if it comes from higher ups saying, we don't want the A and the B team to intermingle, or, really what the politics of all of it is. So just, listening to the presentation, it's, I am trying to figure out, like, where do I go from there? Do I talk with my coach on, hey, why aren't we practicing the same day as the A team? And at the end of the practice, having a scrimmage between both teams and figuring out what the B team can do to help further their development to be great competition for the A team. Like, you can have more than one good team in an age group. That, so that's me trying to further other people's development as well.
Right. Okay. Anybody else about anything you heard tonight? Do you feel like?
Sorry, Don, I don't want to feel like I'm hogging it, but it's like 5 o'clock in the morning and I need to get full value for this. And I'm working in an hour. So quick one, this is for you, Don, and also for the parents. And I'm a parent as well. I've got a son and a daughter who play. As a coach, and at different levels, from let's say academy or the U12 or whatever until the college level, what's your opinion on, I call it not equal playing time, but fair playing time for the purposes of development? And how do you deal with that in terms of speaking to parents? Because you can have a kid sitting on the bench. At U12, I don't think that's fair. I believe in fair or equal playing time. But when it comes to competitiveness and where you have to win, and you have the kid sitting on the bench, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because you can talk to them to encourage them, tell them what they need to do to get on the team. But when dealing with parents, so twofold. As a coach, what's your philosophy on equal playing time, but also explaining to the players and the parents on if they're sitting on the bench, or why they need to sit on the bench, or why they're not starting? I just wanted to get your views on that.
Well, first, in my opinion on equal and fair playing time is it can never be equal, but it needs to be fair. Okay.
Right.
So how do players get it to be fair? What they control, their work rate. Are they working hard in practice? Are they trying to develop, trying to get better? Okay, that's going to get you on the field. Are you coachable? Okay, are you focused? Are you paying attention? Are you trying to implement the things that we're teaching? That'll get you on the field. Are you a good teammate? Okay. Are you about the team or are you about yourself? What's the reason you want to get on the field? To help your team or help you? And so I actually had my very first complaint. You think after 30 years, you've pretty much seen it all. This past fall, I had my very first complaint that I'd never heard before about the playing time for 14 girls on a U12 team was too equal. I was like, I set the standard really, really high at the parent meeting. Was I want your daughters to force me to have to put them on the field, and the very things that we just talked about, through their work rate, through their coachability, through their attitude, all of these things. I want them to want on the field. There's no reason I should put them off the field. And so literally we had a dad complaining that the playing time for other kids was taking away from playing time from his daughter because it was too equal. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Every girl on this team is working hard. Every girl on this team is skillfully capable to be on the field at any given time. What am I supposed to just rob them to give your daughter more time? What's the problem? And I won't go into what the club had a little discussion with me about it. I didn't do what the club wanted me to do. I did what was fair. Okay. What was the other part of your question about at the end of the game?
That's your philosophy as a coach, but then, so I think you kind of answered it. It's like, how do you talk to parents about it?
I talked to them like I just did. This is the expectations. Yeah. This is what your kid's going to have to do to get on the field. This is what your kid will do to get off the field. Okay. If they're doing these things, they're not going to get as much playing time. And I don't care about winning and losing. I could have had any lineup. You could have took my girls. You could have took a list of my team and wrote 11 girls on the page and said, here, put them on the field, and I'd have done it. That's how they were that equal. And it didn't matter to me what the game was, championship game or otherwise. Everybody was going to see Tom on the field. The kids want to play. They want to play. It's the adults that confuse the issue. And we need to win this game. Do I believe there are games that, are probably more important that we probably do need to get a result of? Absolutely. If we've worked that hard through 3 games to get to the championship, we probably want to get that one. We've worked for it. We've earned it. We need to go for it. That doesn't mean I'm going to cut somebody else's time. Let's go out there and work harder than the other team and get it. Let's everybody pull together. So I will share that story. I won't share it with you, but I'll just tell you what I mentioned earlier before we get off, because it's an hour and a half now into this. Is I saw a grown father in his 30s jump on a middle school age girls soccer team on a corner kick and score a header goal. I've never seen an adult male move that fast in my life, from the moment he scored the header and then ran from the goal around the corner flag and hide within the group of parents on the sideline. The center referee and the AR looked at each other like, did I just see what I think I just saw? I didn't have a horse in the race. I was just there observing. Just when you think you've seen it all, that happens. He literally jumped on the field, scored a header. Great header, by the way. It was wonderful technique. Scored a header, and then the parents hit him. When the referee was searching for who it was, the parents would not point him out. That's where the parents have to police themselves and point that idiot out and go, that is wrong, and get him out of there.
On that note, everybody, as we do in our UGK educational session at the end of every session, let's give our presenter, Coach Don Maples, a golf clap, please.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well done, Coach. Everybody, as I mentioned, if anyone's looking for more information about the United Goalkeeping Alliance, whether you're a coach, a goalkeeper, parent of a coach, these sessions that we do every month in Playing Out of the Back series is for parents. So if you have topics that you want to hear about, you have topics that you want us to present on, by all means, please email us or DM us on Instagram at United GK Alliance. As you can see on my screen. And again, guys, we're here for you. Our goal is to get everyone to their next level.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you're a player, parent, coach. We're all there. We're all in for the same reasons. That's to get better. So, guys, appreciate you. Have an awesome night. Coach Don, thank you once again. Everybody, take care.
Thank you all.